So what's the big deal about government jobs? Why are so many people focused on getting a federal government job? Well, a survey came out recently and it shows 80% of the people that responded, they said one word: benefits. And what benefits? TSP, healthcare, pension. The benefits in the public sector, on average, are better than the private sector. Now, there are some private sector companies that are amazing, right? Probably Google, Tesla, Meta. These companies could be great to work for, but the majority of Americans, they're not working in companies like that. The majority of Americans are working in companies like Walmart, McDonald's, Burger King, Target, and when you do a side-by-side comparison, the government wins out every time. And it's not just the benefits that are better. If you do a side-by-side comparison when it comes to the average salary of a private sector U.S. worker and a public sector U.S. worker, you're talking about an enormous difference. So for the private sector, it's about 60,000 a year. That's your average salary in this country. Look at the government side. You are looking at $90,000 to $100,000 on average for a federal government employee. Also, federal government employees are much more likely to stick around, right, to keep their job more so than a private employee. A private company employee, they'll jump around, right? You heard about it. 18 months, 2 years, they're gone. They're going somewhere else. Now in the government, in my experience, I've ran across people that have served 30, 40, 45 years. Why are they staying there? Is it because they're miserable? Obviously not. It's because they're working towards a pension, because they have that stability. Even if a recession hits, they're going to be okay. Even during the worst economic downturn, they're going to be okay. It's that sense of security that makes government workers stay and continue to work for that agency. Now, this is starting to change with some of the government workers that we have, especially in the DC area, any big city really. It could be Philadelphia, Chicago, where there's more opportunities. So they might stay in the government. They'll jump between agency and agency. Department of Justice this year, maybe next year, Department of Energy. So they'll stay in the government to make sure that the benefits, they keep going, right? So even though you jump between departments, you are still building up the time that counts towards your pension. Now, the old data was taken from the baby boomers, so that generation, and they're getting ready to phase out completely. They're all retiring as I speak. So we're going to have to see what Generation X and the millennials, what they end up doing. That's the next generation coming in that will make up the majority of the federal government. An interesting part of this survey was what was causing federal employees the most stress when it came to their finances. And the top reason for financial stress was saving for retirement. And this really starts to increase once you reach 50 years or older. And before that, I think a lot of people, they're just not thinking about it. They think everything's going to work out fine. Maybe they'll get Social Security, so they're not really worried about it. But once you start to get in your upper 40s, definitely when you hit that 50-year-old birthday, that's when it really becomes important. It's a priority now. And the bottom reason is not affording childcare. Now, the cost of childcare, it's crazy high. It's pretty much crazy high no matter where you go in the country, especially in the bigger cities. But we're seeing a trend in less people having kids. And when they do have kids, it's not as much. They might have one kid, maybe two at the most. So maybe that's why this is not a major concern among federal employees. And if you're in your 20s or you're in your 30s, then the top financial stress for you or for these federal employees, it was paying their bills. And we're talking about utility bills, your gas, your electricity, your car note, your rent, your mortgage, whatever the case is. That was their number one stress when it came to the finances. This makes sense to me because in the government, if you look at it on the lower end, GS6, GS7, GS9, they don't pay very well. I know I was just talking about the pay, but at the lower end, they're not paying very well. And it's hard to really entice people to want to get into the government. Now, once you make it to GS 12, 13, and 14, things start to improve. Things are a lot better. You don't worry as much about your everyday or every month bills. The biggest thing for me, I think, when it comes to retention in the government is, and what makes it so great, is the pension. Now, yeah, sure, you pay into it a little bit. When it comes to FERS, you are contributing a bit, and the government also contributes. But what we're talking about when all the dust settles, when you get old, you don't feel like working, when the back pain comes, when you decide to finally retire, we are talking about guaranteed money that's not affiliated, not associated with the stock market. It doesn't matter what the Dow does. It does not matter what the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ does, because this is separate. This is secure, right? Nothing in this world is secure. We know that, but this is the closest thing to security, because as long as the government is there, the chances are this pension is guaranteed. So when it comes to the pension, we're seeing people get $2,000, $3,000, $3,500 a month, and this is on top of their Social Security. So it's a huge reason why a lot of people are looking. They're at least considering. Maybe they're not going to get a government job, but it's on their mind. They're thinking about it, and a lot of them will try. Speaking of Social Security, you can't just rely upon that. I know even when I was a kid, let's say 30, 35 years ago, people were still talking about when is it gonna fall? When is it gonna collapse? This thing can't go on forever. The same conversations are being had today. Not everyone makes it to 62. That's as soon as you can collect it. As soon as you can draw Social Security at 62. My father didn't make it. My uncle didn't make it. So with a pension, at least you can start drawing at 57 or earlier in some cases. So another thing that you got to consider, especially with the fact that you do not have to do a full-blown 20, 30, 40-year career. You only need to do 5 years. And yeah, your pension will be small. It'll be tiny, but at least it's guaranteed. At least it'll be coming in. And with a private company, you're not going to get that. At a private company, you'll be lucky to get 401k matching contribution, maybe some company equity if you're in a senior position or you've been there a while. That's the best that you can hope for. So if you are considering a federal government job, maybe you're applying, maybe you're just thinking about it, one of the main things, aside from everything that I mentioned, the benefits, the pay, the pension, another thing is remote work. You might have heard that a lot of government jobs went remote and you can work at home. And if that's one of the reasons why you're considering getting into the government, well, I got some bad news for you. That looks like it could be on the way out, or it could be on the decline. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, I want you to watch this video next. If you would like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.